President Trump today ordered a number of documents and text messages related to the Russia investigation to be declassified. These are documents that several House Republicans wanted released. The declassification includes the FISA application for Carter Page and FBI reports of interviews conducted with Bruce Ohr. The president is also ordering the public release of all text messages from James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, and Lisa Page that relate to the Russia investigation. The president is demanding those be released without any redactions. Joining me now are Keir Dougall and Rebecca Roiphe. Keir is a former assistant U.S. attorney in New York's Eastern District, and Rebecca is a professor of law at New York Law School and a former assistant district attorney in the New York County District Attorney's Office. Welcome to you both. Once again, we have some just developing news now. So, Rebecca, let me get your take on what we just reported there, that the president has declassified a number of these documents as well as text messages related to the Russia investigation. Obviously, we have just gotten this information, but what is your sense of what this might be a part of the president's decision to release these?
I think this is a political maneuver and really a public relations maneuver. He was remarkably silent after the Paul Manafort plea, for him anyway. And this is a way, it's kind of like a chess move. I mean, what he's basically saying is, I want to do this because I want to show you that this is a politically motivated Department of Justice and a politically motivated FBI. And whatever happens with the result of the declassification or whatever is in there doesn't matter as much as the request, because he's conveying a message by making this request that he doesn't trust that these are neutral decisions being made by a neutral body.
So hold that thought for a moment. We have joining us now CBS News Washington correspondent Paula Reed, who of course has been following the Russia investigation. She is there at the White House. So Paula, help us understand, because we're just getting this information, what exactly it is that the president has ordered here and the significance of it.
So he has used his enormous executive power to declassify certain items that relate to the Russia investigation. There's sort of a few different buckets. The first is he wants to declassify portions of the FISA application that was used to conduct surveillance against Carter Page. The president and his allies have raised questions about whether or not there was a legitimate basis for that FISA application, and they have wanted the entire thing to be released so people can judge for themselves. Now, he is also ordering to be released reports that were made after interviews with Bruce Ohr. Now, Bruce Ohr is a senior Justice Department official. He was actually quite high-ranking, especially when a lot of the positions were unfilled. Right now, he works in the criminal division at the Justice Department. He wants his interview to be revealed because there are allegations that he did not fully disclose the work that his wife did for a firm that created the infamous dossier. Now, lastly, he is asking to declassify text messages from several of the key players in the Russia investigation: James Comey, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and others. Now, what does all this mean? What is all this for? This is part of an effort to discredit the ongoing Russia investigation. The president and his allies have been trying to work to discredit the origins of the Russia investigation. As your other guest noted, the president has been curiously quiet about his former campaign chairman's decision on Friday to cooperate with a special counsel. That's now the president's fourth associate who has agreed to cooperate. So here you see the president coming out in an effort to use his executive power to declassify. He is also pretty directly attempting to undermine the credibility of the ongoing Russia probe.
So, Paula, I guess my question is, what would the practical effect of a president choosing to do this be on those people who are tasked with looking into this very issue of Russian meddling?
The concern is that traditionally the first rule of FISA is that you don't talk about FISA, that the sources, the methods, all of that is kept secret to help protect national security. So the concern is now you have potentially politicized the process, and anyone in the future, any future politician, future president who has any sort of political issue with something FISA has been used for, they may try to go after and compromise the process. A lot of law enforcement officials have told me they're deeply concerned about this attempt to politicize the FISA process. But of course, the president and his supporters, they have tried to argue without any clear evidence, really, that it was the FISA process that was politicized, and they're trying to right the ship.
All right, Paula Reed at the White House for us. Paula, thanks very much. All right, so Keir, let me just have you react to some of what we heard from Paula there on this notion that, FISA, what is contained within these FISA warrants is never meant to be out there for others to see. I wonder, as an investigator, though, if in fact this will have any kind of chilling effect or cause someone perhaps, I mean, obviously maybe this is an unanswerable question, but it might cause someone perhaps to pause for a moment in terms of whatever investigative step they might be taking, knowing that someday their work could be declassified in this way.
Sure. Well, first of all, if you are unhappy with an investigation or a litigation that is targeting you, one of the classic things to do is to complain about the process. Mm-hmm. And so I agree with Rebecca and with Paula that the concern here, the real concern is over the revelation of sources and methods. So these FISA applications are applications to do surveillance, to do investigation. They're upon probable cause. There's a very robust process, a secret process that is used to issue one of these applications or approve it, and so it does seem the concern would be if you're writing one of these applications, is that process going to become politicized in the future?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's something that, Rebecca, people who are in this line of work traditionally have not had to concern themselves with, this notion that their work in carrying out these investigative steps could in fact be viewed through a political lens.
I mean, that's the whole thing about this at every step, that part of what Trump is doing is he's directed at these two investigations, at Michael Cohen, at the Russia probe, but the repercussions all the way down the line, because as he chips away at the legitimacy of these steps that are just steps that are taken in every single federal case, that has an effect on all those cases. And there are FBI agents all over the place and prosecutors all over the place who are just trying to do their job in regular cases, and it makes them harder and harder for them to do it in such a way that a defendant doesn't have a credible claim that the president thinks this is not a legitimate process, so it's not a legitimate process.
Let's go back to the issue of Paul Manafort. So you had Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz, who's been a defender of the president, critical of how Mr. Trump's legal team responded to news of Manafort's deal, and here's what he had to say.
So, look, I understand why Rudy Giuliani, who's a good lawyer, wants to put this in the most positive light, but this was a very bad day for the Trump administration. It's bad because he doesn't know what Manafort is saying, and he can't count on Manafort saying only things that the special counsel already knows. And when you don't know what a cooperator is saying, then it's a bad day for you because you're vulnerable and exposed.
Keir, what's your reaction to that?
So I'm not sure that I agree with much of what Alan Dershowitz says, but I think he's got a point here. We can expect, because Paul Manafort's sentence was so severe, that in order for Mueller's team to offer him a break through cooperation, the reduction in sentence that you end up getting, that he must have offered something that was very substantial. And so, the idea that Mr. Trump's team can spin this as a positive thing seems pretty far-fetched.
We only have about 30 seconds left. Rebecca, what's your thought on what we heard from Professor Dershowitz?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's almost an understatement. I think that, there have been lots of dramatic moments in this case, and this is the most dramatic moment yet, and it would be incredibly concerning, the most concerning thing that's happened yet for Trump and his team.
All right, Keir Dougall and Rebecca Roiphe, thanks to you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
The confirmation